What a beautiful day. I think I'm back in Florida. Hey guys, let's take the jacket off and roll up our sleeves. I bet you've never seen this before, Mica without a coat on. There you go. Good. Can't believe all of you came out here to hear about my announcing for re-election, but and this was a fundraising event, so who's got a hat? Oh, just kidding, folks. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for coming out. And wow, what a beautiful day, not only in Washington, but for the United States of America and for transportation. I'm Congressman John Mica. I have the honor and privilege of chairing the Transportation Committee. We have a number of members here, and what I'm going to try to do is be fairly brief and then give each member about a minute to say something. We also have with us, and I don't know if they're all here. Is Bill Graves here? But we have, where's Bill Graves? Get your butt over here, Bill. Come on up here. Bill Graves, President, CEO of ATA, American Trucking Association. Where's Pete Ruane? Long-suffering Pete Ruane. He's the President, CEO of American Road and Transportation Builders Association. Where's Jack Basso? Is he around, Jack? Jack, come on up here. Jack is AASHTO, American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials. And then we got David Raymond. David Raymond, raise your hand to get front and center here. He's President and CEO of the American Council of Engineering Companies. Where's Greg Cohen? And he is President and CEO. Greg, raise your hand and get up here, boy. American Highway Users Alliance. And Stephen Sandher, and he's CEO of Associated General Contractors of America. Most people in Congress just talk about jobs and work and construction, but these people actually are responsible for it, and I thank them. They are stakeholders from the private sector and have worked with us on this important piece of legislation. We'll get to the members and introduce them. Let me just again tell you, and I think everybody knows why we're here. We're here to announce the introduction this afternoon in the United States House of Representatives, the American Energy and Infrastructure Jobs Act. This is probably the most important piece of legislation that Congress will consider to put Americans to work and to also cut some of our reliance on imported energy and have a dramatic effect, I think, on creating jobs and allowing the consumer to have reasonably priced energy. So the bill is, first of all, a long-term bill. It's 5 years, and its value is estimated, the authorization is estimated at $260 billion. And that's very important. We've had some short-term expenditures. We're on our 8th extension of short-term transportation bills, but a long-term commitment to our states, to our local governments, and those that are actually building something. People who are building something out there need a reliable partner, and that's the federal government returning people's tax dollars. They pay it when they pay at the pump or wherever, and it goes into the trust fund or comes to Washington. And this is getting that money out there, building our nation's infrastructure and creating jobs. And also, again, the energy component is very important. This is the largest transportation reform bill since the creation of the interstate in 1956. Contains no earmarks. Do any of you have any idea how difficult it is to do a transportation bill without earmarks? This is the first one I know of. The last bill had 6,300 earmarks. This does not have one. It consolidates or eliminates 70 federal programs. We started out with just a half a dozen in transportation. We've got over 100 and some. This consolidates and eliminates some that are duplicative. It eliminates mandates that the state spend highway funding on non-highway activities. Very important. Again, we're going to get the maximum amount of money in our real infrastructure, and people will hopefully see the difference. Allows states to set their own priorities. This is great flexibility for the states and others who are doing these projects. On funding, again, 5 years, $260 billion. The revenues, again, from gas production, and that will help, and energy production will help fund this. I won't be able to answer questions on that. Our committee is doing the transportation policy, and we have Ways and Means, we have Energy and Commerce, we have other committees helping with the funding portion. I can't thank enough our leadership and these members here who have gone to the mat, to have fought to make certain that we have adequate funding for transportation, and also that our committee remains the key in deciding how that money is authorized. That's an important role for this committee. So again, it sets deadlines for. Well, let me just say one more point here. You can have the money, but if you can't spend the money, what good is it? They had $63 billion they put in of $787 billion in stimulus. Last October, there's still 35% of it sitting in Washington, people without jobs, people not working in this country. And that's not going to happen again. Shovel ready cannot become a joke. We have streamlining provisions in here that will make projects move forward and cut red tape, cut the paperwork, and we don't roll over any environmental laws. We do consolidate some of the time of approval. We also run some of the approvals concurrently rather than consecutively, so it doesn't take years to get approval on these projects. So it accelerates also the approval process for projects in the existing right-of-way. We want to see transportation projects now, not in some far distant time. Finally, we have leveraging some of our financial resources, encourage states to partner with the private sector, public-private partnerships that will help finance and build these projects. We don't have all the money here or down there, although these guys here look like they could probably come up with a few more bucks. Highly paid media. That was a joke. Okay. But again, we've got to take the money we have and we've got to leverage it, and it increases the availability of low-interest TIFIA loans for major transportation projects. The schedule is this. We hope to mark up in the committee on Thursday and be there bright and early. If you come at 10, you'll miss an hour of activity. We're going to start at 9, and we hope to have this on the floor a little bit later in February, and we're working with leadership, and you'll hear from them on the exact time. I don't schedule for action. So that's more than I needed to say, but that's the rundown of the bill. The chairman always gets more than a minute. Let's go through, again, some of the people that have been key to making this happen. And first I've got Jimmy Duncan, who's the chair of the subcommittee on highways and transit. Mr. Duncan.
Thank you.
Go for it.
Well, Chairman Mica said 1 minute. Being from Tennessee, I don't think I can speak that fast, so I'll eliminate most of what I was going to say and just say that I want to commend Chairman Mica, and I want to thank all the members of my subcommittee, most of whom are standing right here behind me, and especially Jim Timon and the staff of the subcommittee. This can be, and I hope will be, the most significant bill that this Congress will pass. We've passed many good bills in the House that aren't going any place in the Senate, but I think this is a bill that we can pass in both the House and the Senate. It is a jobs bill. These are jobs that will not be outsourced to China or other places. We're cutting bureaucracy and eliminating a lot of red tape so we can speed up these projects. The last 2 studies by the Federal Highway Administration, they've said 13 years. One said 13 years, one said 15 years from conception to completion. In a nation like ours, we should be able to do things. We should be able to cut that time in half. This is a big bill with controversial items in it, so nobody gets everything they want in a bill like this. But this is a good bill. It's important to this country. It provides or encourages more domestic energy production, so we can someday hopefully start thumbing our noses at the people in the Middle East and start doing more for the people in this country and putting Americans first once again. I'm proud to be associated with this committee and this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman Duncan. And now, one of the people who actually has produced the bill, in fact, the author of the prior legislation, which is now some 8 years old, the gentleman from Alaska, Mr. Don Young. Come on up, Don. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, John. And I have to say, I'm supporting this bill. It's difficult for me not to have earmarks. If you think it's difficult for me to be the chairman and try to understand that this bill is going to be good for America, it will probably in some cases not be as helpful as it could have been for members' districts. And that's crucially important. But John's done this. As a chairman, I give him great credit. It's needed for this nation. Our infrastructure is falling apart. I'd like to see better funded legislation. We're working on that through energy itself, and we have to look down the road because we do have problems. Our road mileage is increased, and our same infrastructure is in place. TLU is a great bill, and this bill can be as good. We'll continue to work on it, and we just have to watch out for the dark side, the Senate, because the House does a good work. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Now, another great partner and chair of the Aviation Subcommittee, and you know, this is a triple hitter day, I guess. We just filed a few minutes ago a motion to go to conference. I think we appointed conferees, and the FAA bill appears to be on its way. We're going to have a conference meeting at 4 o'clock. So again, a big red letter day in our nation's capital. Again, Chair of the Aviation Subcommittee, Tom Petri from Wisconsin.
This is a major jobs bill. It's important for our country. In the past, when we've had economic slowdowns, our nation has stepped up to the bat, built things like the Hoover Dam, built other major infrastructure projects, and now it's time we took care of the deferred maintenance and the projects that we need to do in our transportation, highway, road infrastructure. I'm very hopeful. It's late in the process, but better late than never, and I'm very hopeful we can put together a coalition that will result in a major new national initiative and commitment to having a first-rate infrastructure for the next generation.
Thanks, Tom. Our chair of the Rail Subcommittee, and this is a multi-section bill and addresses a whole host of modes. Bill Schuster from Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope the sun's shining today is a sign of good things to come for this bill. I think it's a great bill. The chairman has worked hard with the committee to produce this. And I got to tell you, one of the numbers I think is important. I mean, we can drive around America and see the deteriorating highways and bridges around America, and it's obvious to us. But people need to remember, within 27 years, we're going to go from 300 million people to 400 million people in this country. More people on the roads, more commerce to supply these people for what they need. So this bill is extremely important. Now, there's going to be some naysayers. They've already started criticizing the bill, but I want to point out a couple of important things in this bill. Number one, it's paid for. The leadership and the chairman have worked together with other committees to find the pay for it to fund this bill, which is important to those of us in the Republican conference. Also, it's significant reform. We're going to reduce the size of government through Chairman Mica's significant reforms in this bill. Second, it's consistent with the Constitution and our duties as the federal government. It says in Article 1, national security, commerce, and build post roads. Ladies and gentlemen, this is consistent with the Constitution. Third, it's a Republican tradition to build infrastructure in America, going back to Lincoln with the Transcontinental Railroad, Teddy Roosevelt to the Panama Canal, and Eisenhower, who built the interstate highway system. So it's a Republican tradition that we need to make sure we're building America. These roads, highways, and byways, they're the arteries and veins of commerce in America. So we need to make sure if this economy is going to grow, we're going to create jobs and be a prosperous, first-rate economy in this world, we have to invest in infrastructure. So this bill is going to do that, and I'm proud to say today that I'm here to support it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill Schuster. Yeah, and one of our senior members, a gentlelady from West Virginia, Shelley Moore Capito. Where is she? There
right
she
here.
is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to say that this has been a bill that wasn't all fostered under the Capitol Dome or in Rayburn. The chairman took the committee out across this country, and he came. He knows where Beckley is, and he knows where Charleston Yeager Airport is, and that's where we had a meeting in my district. And I would like to highlight just one portion that came out in the meeting that is in this bill that I think is extremely important, and that's the streamlining portion of the bill, because it streamlines the ability to move projects forward quicker. It makes concurrent timelines rather than consecutive timelines. And that's the one complaint I'm sure he heard everywhere he went, but certainly heard in West Virginia. Because as we know, time is money, money is jobs. And so I think that by streamlining the time, you're going to have more effective use of the money, and you're going to create the jobs that building a good, solid infrastructure will provide. So it's a great bill, and I look forward to supporting it on Thursday.
Let me introduce now from the great state of New Hampshire, Frank Ginta. Where is he? Come on up here, Frank.
Thank you to Chairman Mica for the hard work he put and all of the committee members put into this bill. I'm extremely proud of the work that was done, because when our freshman class came to Congress, we wanted to start changing how Washington works, and this bill does exactly that. It's paid for, first and foremost. Secondly, it gives us an opportunity to streamline how projects work quicker, more effective, more efficient. It reduces the size and scope of the federal government, and I think it does it in a long-term, nonpartisan way. And finally, it does what I think is extremely important, a responsibility we have to not just maintain but improve our infrastructure. This bill will create jobs around the country and in New Hampshire, and I'm very proud of the work that we've done, and I hope that we have strong bipartisan support both in the House and the Senate to see its passage quickly in this term. Thank you very much.
One of the mighty 87, a gentleman from New York who is also the vice chair of the Highway Subcommittee, Richard Hanna from New York. Come on up.
Hi, everybody. I want to thank Chairman Mica and the staff and the entire committee. This is the first time since 2005 that we're actually going to have a highway bill that has a chance of passing. There's been, what, John, 8 or 9 extensions? Eight at least. This is exactly what we should be doing. As a guy who spent 30 years of his life in heavy construction, 25 of those years as a member of the operating engineers, I know these are investments we need to make. This is the time to make them. We have 13 million unemployed, 24 million people unemployed. This jobs bill, transportation bill, will create millions of jobs over the 5 years, and I'm pleased to support it, and I look forward to seeing it pass in the House and ultimately the Senate. Thank you very much.
One of the new leaders and chair of the Water Resources and Environment Subcommittee, Bob Gibbs from Ohio. Bob, come on up.
Thank you, Chairman. Pleasure to be here. I'm really excited about this bill. First of all, no earmarks, no new taxes, and it lowers the cost to states and local governments to get these road projects done by streamlining and running projects studies concurrently. So another thing I think is really important to mention is the 5-year bill. I talked to my states back in Ohio, and also our contractors, and they need certainty. They need to be able to plan. And remember, federal government, we have a partnership with the states. State taxpayers, state gas tax, it's a partnership, and they need a plan. But more importantly, for our private sector contractors, they need to be able to plan, know what to bid on, what's coming down the road. And I've had some of my contractors in Ohio tell me that they've actually held back on expanding their businesses and buying new equipment because of all the uncertainty of the 8 extensions on the highway bill. So the 5-year bill is really important to get the economy going and getting the work done and creating jobs. So I'm really glad to be part of this, and I support this on Thursday. Thank you.
Thanks. Now we've got I want to introduce the vice chair of the Aviation Subcommittee, Chip Kravac. Many of you know him, but he's probably the first freshman in history to file a motion to go to conference on an FAA bill. Here he is. He did it within the hour. Good job.
Well, I'm really excited that we are finally going to get a bill that is bipartisan, bicameral, and we are going to move this thing forward on a bill that's way overdue. This is good for the American worker. It's good for Minnesotans. And it's what the American families have demanded upon us, and when they sent us to Congress, to find solutions. And I believe we found solutions here today. One of the big things I want to make sure everybody takes away with, there are no earmarks, and this bill is paid for. This is an unbelievable accomplishment for this Congress. So this is a common sense solution to a common sense bill that is going to put Americans back to work and improve our infrastructure. Thank you.
Thanks, Chip. Gentlemen, another one of the mighty 87, Lou Barletta from Pennsylvania. Come on.
Thank you, Chairman Mica, and thank you for taking your listening session to Scranton, Pennsylvania, where the chairman listened to new ideas. A road project in 1998 in my hometown that was $10 million is still under construction and not completed because of all the delays, and will end up costing well over $26 million. This bill will cut the red tape, streamline projects. Best way to put Americans back to work and get our local economies going again is to fix America's infrastructure. So I'm very proud to be on this committee as we unveil this new bill.
Thank you. Let's see. No, he's not that small a guy. We can't miss him. Billy Long from Missouri, another fabulous 87 guy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if we'd have stood here 1 year ago at the beginning of the 112th Congress, and you'd have told me that we would have a 5-year highway bill, and you would see John Mica without a jacket, I'd said you were crazy on both fronts. But we've done both those things here today, and being from the state of Missouri, it was important to me to seek out and be put on the Transportation Infrastructure Committee. We have the 7th most highway miles in the country. We have 2 of the 3 biggest rail yards. So to see this come to fruition and be a 5-year bill, people have talked about it being a jobs bill. To me, that's a side benefit. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be working, but it's the hard-working Americans that are going to be using these roads and the infrastructure that I'm worried about. So you get 2 benefits. You get a lot of jobs out of it, you get the hard-working people that currently have a job get there quicker. And thank you, Chairman.
Thank you so much. And we got a couple more of our fabulous 87, Reed Ribble from Wisconsin. Where's Reed? Here he is. Come on, buddy.
First of all, congratulations to the chairman. This is quite an accomplishment. And I will tell you, I spent 30 years in construction, and there's been no sector of our economy that's been more devastated by the recession than construction. It is a core taxpayer responsibility and partnership to build infrastructure and highways. It is a core Republican standard that we do this type of project. And the idea that we would have a 5-year transportation bill, I'll tell you, it's quite an amazing accomplishment. And so hopefully now we can finish our work in the days ahead and begin to move this forward so we can create some jobs in this country and put our construction industry back to work. Thank you.
And from Tennessee, Chuck Fleischman. Come on up, Chuck. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I've heard a lot of great rhetoric today, and I want to thank everybody on this committee. I'm new to the Transportation Committee. I have the last seat on the Transportation Committee. The hard work that's gone into this bill is important for one very important reason. I came to Washington as a freshman to listen to the American people. The people of the 3rd District of Tennessee said, put America back to work. This bill does it. They said, give us a longer transportation bill. 5 years, it does it. It's financially responsible. It's paid for. It does it. It gives more power to the states by creating infrastructure banks. This bill is important because it's a blueprint for listening to the American people. That's why I went to Congress, because the American people have not been listened to too long. We had a problem in this town. It was called earmarking. There were no earmarks in this bill. When I ran, I promised there'd be no more earmarks. This bill gets that done. So loud and clear to the American people, I want to say thank you. I'm going to continue to work hard with this bill. All day Thursday, we're going to work hard to make sure that the House puts out a good bill that the American people can understand. Whether you're a Republican, whether you're a Democrat or an independent, let's get America back to work. This job does it. Thank you.
Again, part of this huge class. You know, I've had 19 Republican freshmen on the committee, which is a record number. Another one of the young leaders, Randy Holgren from Illinois. Where is he?
Right here. Thank you. I want to thank Chairman Mica and congratulate him on his hard work. I also want to thank Chairman Mica. He came to the 14th Congressional District in Illinois, in West Chicago and Geneva. We heard an interesting story there that for a federal project compared to a local project, it costs 3 times as much and takes 4 times as long to get a federal project done compared to a state project or a local project. Same exact project, just costs that much more, takes that much more time. Ridiculous. I'm excited because this bill addresses that. What the American people want is results. They want to make sure that the money we're spending is going to improve our roads, make them safer for our families, move commerce, and this bill does that. The other thing I hear from my constituents is they want to find something where we can work together, Republicans and Democrats, House and Senate. This is the bill. This will get people working again. I'm very excited to support it. This is going to be a major accomplishment when we get this done. So thank you, Chairman Mica.
Thank you. Now, I think this is the cleat-up man. This is the guy with the broom and the shovel. Actually, some of the people who see this, if it's being recorded, actually might recognize him because he has a district not far from here, from Maryland. The gentleman from Maryland, Andy Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In November 2010, America sent a pretty clear signal. They wanted the 112th Congress to do business differently from the 111th Congress. 111th Congress couldn't pass a multi-year authorization of one of the most important infrastructure aspects of the country. I congratulate Chairman Mica for working both sides of the aisle to put this bill forward. Now, I urge the President, 6 days ago, right behind me, he sat and said he wants a jobs bill on his desk. Mr. President, if you work with the Senate, this jobs bill will be on your desk. America needs it. It's about time. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I guess if they'd done this a couple of years ago when President sent Secretary LaHood in to see me and Mr. Oberstar, and they deep sixed the long-term bill, if they'd passed that, I probably wouldn't be chairman. But what I want to do is make certain that we get people working and that this is a success. Tried to have a bipartisan effort too. We've been across the country. We started in Beckley, West Virginia, our ranking members district. We've been all the way to Los Angeles, bicameral, bipartisan hearing with Barbara Boxer and others. And to many of these districts. So with that, I want to thank you for coming. If we have a couple real short, friendly questions.
Chairman?
This is scary. All right, we're going to let the lady go first. All right.
You haven't had the greatest luck getting your bills through the Senate or even to be debated on the Senate floor. And I know a lot of your members have said that they'd like to be able to go home during this election year with something to show for it that's big.
This is the bill. I mean, if you want to create jobs, this is the only piece of legislation, this and the FAA bill, which is going to conference. And don't doubt us. Just don't doubt us, because we did, now a lot of you didn't cover it, shame on you, but we did the pipeline safety bill, bipartisan. We passed it, it's signed into law. We actually made pipeline safer. We did a whole host of things. Now I just got to get the president to work on Keystone to get the stuff in here, but that's another issue. But we're going to FAA conference. We've passed the Coast Guard bill. We're going to pass the Coast Guard bill. And I can tell you, we're going to do everything possible. I've got the support of these members. We've got stakeholders, business, labor, everybody, and the American people are counting on this as their jobs bill. Because unless somebody's got a different agenda, show it to me. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you address some
What?
of the concern that's been raised already?
About?
The Restaurant Association, the Beverage Association, about the breathalyzer requirement. I don't recall too many bills that, even before they're formally ruled out, where there was a provision in there where people had major objections to something in there. Do you think that that provision is going to stay in at the end of the day, and what's the merit or the demerit?
You know, I'm trying to do everything I can. The biggest cause of death on the highway, well, actually, with the young people today, are in automobile accidents, and more than half of those are related to some sort of substance abuse. We're going to work with everybody, and we're trying to. Again, the bill isn't final. There are many things. There are things I want in it. This is not the final bill. I know, Teresi, Mr. Young. But everybody will craft it a little bit differently. But this is a major start, folks. Look where we've been, and look where we are today, and we have a commitment to move forward. Look where the Senate has been, where they are, and we have a good chance of putting this together. Everybody working in good faith together. So there will be well, we'll look at it. The other thing too, folks, this is not a closed process. So pack your lunch on Thursday. We're going to take amendments. On the floor, the leadership promised enough time. You've watched the process, FAA bill. We had 33 amendments filed. I think we did all but a few of the duplicative ones. They're going to allow this to be a full open process. And the American people want it. We pledged it, and we're going to do it. So if you have trouble seating up there in those august galleries in the press, get some hemorrhoid ointment and hang on. Yeah.
Mr. Mica, how concerned, you mentioned Keystone.
Yeah.
How concerned are you that the possible inclusion of Keystone XL on this legislation at some point by leadership might make it toxically political for Democrats? And,
Well,
maybe Mr. Young would answer if Republicans would consider something Democrats are asking for, which is a guarantee or an order to TransCanada that the oil will be sold in the United States to really make it a domestic.
Well, I'm going to support every bit of energy resource, and from that, the funding that we get possible. What will come, I do not know. I haven't even seen the other. I guess there are at least 3 bills to fund this, and maybe Keystone hanging out there. So again, hang on to your tray tables and put them in a locked and upright position or whatever, or your seatbelts. I get it mixed up. Yeah, trying to wear that tray table.
How much of the transportation bill is going to be covered by Highway Trust Fund revenue?
How much? Let's see, do 35 times 5. You got it. Next. Quick.
Chairman, how would you respond to those who are expressing some concern that the provisions related to energy won't fully cover the cost of the bill? You're saying that the bill is paid for, but how do you respond to those concerns?
Try 225 3121. That's information. Ask for either Mr. Camp or Doc Hastings, and they'll give you a good response. And the leadership is also up there in one of those places. They can answer that. We're going to spend it. 2 more questions.
This is about high-speed rail.
High-speed rail. Yeah. We pulled all that out. Still subject to negotiation. There's placeholders. I want to do more on sound transit that makes sense, inner city and high speed and all of that. But and I'm a big fan of high speed. But could you think of a worse start than what we've had? Money coming back, projects being canceled, projects in trouble, and no success on the horizon. That's a horrible way to start that. But I have a commitment from the Secretary, all the key players, to sit down. We're going to work and see what we can do and try to put what we can in working together, bipartisan, kumbaya fashion. Okay.
Do you want Keystone attached to this bill?
What do you say, kind of troublemaker? I thought I gave him a very good answer. Okay, one last one that isn't a joke. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
TIFIA money is in there.
TIFIA money. I think it's we do about 4 times. This is $250 million, and we go to $1 billion. Think of what that can do. And this answers to the question of a national infrastructure bank. What do I need one for? I've got TIFIA. The program works well. We can make it work better. We are going to put 3-4 times what we have into it. The Senate's already done it. It has the support of business and labor, so it's a major component to take the money that we have, which isn't much, stretch it out. We'll also allow additional participation by the federal government. Now it's limited to 29%. We go to 49%. Correct me if I'm wrong, staff. Read the bill, y'all. It's online. We're not high. But again, we've got a whole host of opportunities to expand infrastructure. Thank you all for coming, and talk to some of these members that may have additional comments, or stakeholders. And thank you, stakeholders, for being with us. Hang in there no matter how tough it gets, guys. Thank you.
When will the formula numbers be for individual states?
You got to talk to the staff. They're calculating, but a lot depends on certain factors. Where is Jim Timon?
When will that be out today?
Well, let me get you the answer. Where's Jim Timon? Hey, Tracy, where's Timon?